Hi, everybody. As Nick said, my name is Dan Primack, business editor at Axios, editor of the Axios Pro Rata newsletter, which you can get at getprorata.axios.com. And I'm pleased to welcome Ryan Roslansky, CEO of LinkedIn. Hi. Hey, good to see you, man. So Ryan, you and I first met when you interviewed me for a job at LinkedIn, like a generation ago. I will say to everybody who's interviewing people, you never know what will impress you. You guys had an AC/DC pinball machine on your first floor at the time, and I kept thinking, if I came in every day early, I could play the game. But one thing we did not discuss, I am sure at all at that point, was AI. Because it wasn't really a thing. And you guys recently came out with a report saying that you expected 70% of the skills we currently use in our jobs to disappear by 2030, which is not that much time. It's 6 years from now. Can you dig into that a little bit deeper for people here? And I know people do different jobs, but what sorts of skills are the ones that are going to disappear? It's the majority, but can you kind of help with what are we going to lose or not need?
First of all, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I'm wearing like very slippery, like non-comfortable shoes, so I missed the memo on that one. Obviously.
Do you need a liquid IV? We can hook it up from the back.
That was great advice. Yeah, I mean, first of all, by virtue of being part of LinkedIn, where hopefully a lot of you are LinkedIn members, you may know LinkedIn is that blue app, hopefully that's on your telephone. But underneath that app is a thriving graph of information with 1 billion professionals, 65 million companies, 20 plus million jobs posted at any given time, and the connection of all that data, what we call the economic graph. And the reason I bring that up is because it gives us really interesting real-time views into what's happening across the global labor market at any time. And we really try and leverage that data, those insights, to help people understand, what the future of work is going to look like. Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball, but we do have what I believe to be probably the best source of real-time, large-scale insights on the labor market. And look, without a doubt, to your point, Dan, I mean, the word of the day is, it's definitely changed. I mean, that's not a new thing, but it's 2025. I mean, we're into the second quarter of the 21st century now. And even if you take a look at all the job titles that exist on LinkedIn today, even in the US, 20% of them didn't even exist at all at the turn of the century. And it's just fascinating to think about that. But not only is that interesting, even if, your job...
Ryan, when you say that, is that just titles because there's not title inflation, but people like to create new job titles?
Totally new. It's totally new categories of jobs. So social media manager, creator, data scientist, these things didn't even exist. And it's just it's about the rate of change that's happening in the labor market. Even more fascinating though, even if you're not changing jobs, your job is changing on you. If you take the average, if you break down everyone's job in this room is a set of skills or tasks to be done. If you break down everyone's job into those skills or tasks, even going back to 2015, on average across all jobs, the skills needed to do the job have changed by 25%, which is just fascinating to see. And a lot of that is, I don't think that's going to slow down. To your point, it's only going to accelerate into the rest of the 21st century. But and AI is a big part of that. I mean, if you go back to just 8 years ago, 2016, the number, the amount of percentage of people whose profile has anything to do with AI on it, skills, et cetera, is literally up 20x. I mean, and it's not just the raw data or technical skills, it's the ability to use a lot of the existing tools that are, or the new tools that are out there right now. So that's like one, trend that we're seeing is just, the adoption of AI tools, AI skills at scale on our platform. Companies looking for AI talent is up 300% year over year. So the marketplace is one that's demanding AI skills. However, the one thing to keep in mind though as well is that it's really balanced out on what I'll call a set of human skills. So the most popular in-demand skill in all those 20 million plus job posts at any given time on LinkedIn is communication. Can someone communicate? We need people that can communicate, then create clarity.
But you don't think that's going to be something that in a lot of cases gets replaced by AI?
No, I think that you may have a
Or if not replaced,
workforce.
very well
Yeah.
supplemented to the point where you don't really have to have that human skill all that much.
No, I think that an ability to get work done, to collaborate, empathy, adaptability. I think these are actually some of the most important skills that round out that skill set of what's going to be needed for the next decade or so of work.
When I speak to, I hear this as a white collar argument a lot, right? Which is, don't worry, the people are still going to be needed. There's layers. There's just going to be new tasks to do. The rote tasks will get done. It'll be easier. When you talk to some blue collar people about this who lost their jobs to different sort of automation, they kind of laugh at that and say that's what we got told too. Why will what happened in a lot of blue collar work not happen in white collar work? I mean, in other words, are we not really whistling past the graveyard a little bit because we kind of like to think we're special?
I mean, I always think there's an argument, and historically, whenever you see a technological paradigm shift, there's a lot of excitement in the beginning. There's then a lot of excitement years down the road when the economy has shifted to adapt it. In the middle of it, though, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of distress. There's a lot of people whose jobs are, to what we said before, changing on them. So I don't think you can't be naive to say that there won't be a lot of displacement or change. But I do fundamentally believe that at the end of this, a lot of amazing new opportunities, roles, options will be created. I have just bringing it personally to myself, I have a daughter who is a freshman in college, just started this year. And, these are kids who are, super plugged in, and they're looking around and they're saying, am I going to have a job? What does the job market look like? And, the best advice that I give to her is just basically, look, number one, you have to be using a lot of these AI tools right now. Get to know them, use them, learn them. Even if you don't like them, be so open to what these tools are and how they work. You have to learn these skills. Don't say that it's something that's passé or we don't need it. Get super involved in it. Number two, to what I just said, earlier, I do think that really lean into the human skills, collaboration, adaptability, empathy, compassion. That's what will make you stand out, when you're out of your career. But last but not least, I think the most important thing, especially for this next generation, is there are all these opportunities that people would like to do to make the world a better place, be it around climate or healthcare or poverty. Being able to use AI in these tools allows us to think much differently than we ever have in the past. So embrace that towards amazing new things that we've thought weren't possible, but the data and the tools can start to unlock them.
Something else was in your report. It suggested that the U.S. is going faster than other parts of the world when it comes to AI adoption, not in terms of people putting it down as a skill, but in terms of adoption. Is that because, from your perspective, U.S. is actually ahead, or is it because we like to hype things up and we sometimes put the cart before the horse?
I don't really necessarily have a reason why. I mean, obviously, a lot of the AI skill proliferation is happening out of the Silicon Valley, out of tech companies, and then it's moving beyond that. So I think a lot of it just has to do with that's where still to this day a lot of technology and a lot of AI happens. It's kind of in the heart of Silicon Valley. It's not to say that AI skills aren't proliferating around the world as well. I mean, we actually see a huge lot of growth in India. We see actually, the most popular AI skill in Europe is actually responsible AI. So there's a different view at it. So I think it's happening everywhere, but just at different rates based on where technology is in those markets.
Can I just go back? So, and I don't know, when you give that advice to your kid, if this was, I don't know, 6 years ago, maybe your advice would have been you should get some basic computer programming skills. You should learn to code. And a lot of those jobs are they're not gone yet, but they're starting to get replaced. Are you guys seeing a reduction in the number of kind of traditional dev and coding jobs that are getting posted?
I mean, a couple things. One, I would still recommend even to my daughter to learn how to code, not because you're going to need to know how to code, but I think it's really important what coding teaches you, learning how to learn, learning how to think.
But then why code as opposed to learn art history?
Yeah, I think that's important as well. My wife was a history teacher, quite frankly. But I think that's one aspect. That learning how to learn thing, I don't think goes away. I'll tell you something fascinating, though. It's like the earliest sign that I'm paying attention to in the LinkedIn data. Companies that are adopting a lot of AI tools inside of their company, and it's across the board, but even GitHub Copilot, et cetera, are the ones who are relaxing what has historically been necessary, technical degrees for software roles inside of the company. So basically, what that points to, if this plays out, is that the role of an engineer starts to change, where you don't necessarily need that historical coding background. You're going to need to know how to use the AI tools to create code, to create products and services. But there'll be a different set of skills that probably round that out. So I think that that's a really interesting insight as well.
What is a skill that a LinkedIn CEO today needs that they're not going to need or not use by 2030? Or are you are you the exception to this rule?
I'm not the one exception in the world now. I don't know if necessarily skills, the set of skills go away. I would like to think that in my role, as with any role, the more that I can learn and adapt and use a lot of these tools, the better off I will be. For example, LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, as many of you hopefully are aware of. So, when I use, Copilot inside of Outlook right now, before I send Satya Nadella, my boss, an email, it's really helpful to make sure that I sound really smart, that I sound Satya smart before I send this guy, an email. So
do you ask the AI, what will Satya think of this email?
Some version of that. But I definitely don't want to look dumb. I don't want to have grammatical errors. I don't want to, I want to make sure that I'm connecting the dots. And I just think that that's going to continuously be an important skill for a lot of folks to learn how to use these tools to just do the job better.
You mentioned the fact that Microsoft owns you guys. I'm an M&A reporter. That's my day job. So I just have to ask, it's been a while since Microsoft acquired you. Has there been any discussion ever or at least recently, of spinning LinkedIn out independently?
Not that I'm aware of. Go back.
People change jobs and companies a lot. I don't know. Companies can change companies.
Yeah. Look, I think, at least from my perspective, I think hopefully history will look back on this is one of the very successful acquisitions in technology history. So a couple of things were very unique about this. Number one, around the time that we were being acquired, I think maybe LinkedIn was doing, roughly $2 billion a year in revenue. You fast forward, 7-8 years now, and at least, for the trailing 12 months, we're doing north of $17 billion in revenue. So from 2 to 17, I think it's been a pretty remarkable jump for Microsoft. But most importantly, what was unique about this acquisition was the way that Satya ran it, which was that he said, we are going to keep LinkedIn completely independent. And you look at that as an employee when you're being acquired, you're like, yeah, right. I don't know what that means. I don't believe that. But, to this day, LinkedIn is, a completely independent company. I attend Satya's staff meeting every Friday, which is great, but that's the touch point that we have. And then we run LinkedIn independently. I think it's been a really, that's not how Microsoft has historically worked. Early on, even a decade ago, a lot of acquisitions, they had trouble making them work, but this was a really different approach to it. So all credit to Satya and his geniusness to think through it this way. But it's been really great for LinkedIn to grow. I think it's been great for Microsoft to have LinkedIn grow in that umbrella. And we've just found a really strong partnership between the companies.
Talk a little bit. You've launched we only have about a minute or two. You've launched a couple AI tools, consumer-facing or user-facing AI tools, including one last week, this job match thing, which is supposed to help if you're a job applicant, show you which jobs you're basically going to get a call back from and those that aren't.
If you think about the problem that we're trying to solve every day on LinkedIn, and any of you that are like system-level AI thinkers, will have an interesting perspective on this. There are 1 billion members on LinkedIn. Everybody is trying to figure out what to do with their career. What should my next role be? On the other side, we have over 65 million companies that are active on LinkedIn, trying to fill roles at their company, trying to figure out who will be the best person to do this job at my company. AI is a perfect answer to this problem. Historically, the way that recruiting works is the following. You have a recruiter trying to fill a role, and they start to sort the LinkedIn member base by the criteria of where did that person used to work or where did they go to school. So you'd hear things like, oh, she went to Princeton, she must be good. Or he used to work at Google, he must be good. And filtering by that criteria would not only narrow down the labor pool, but it would always focus a recruiter's attention on the same set of candidates. What we're trying to do through AI is to actually break the job down from the job title into the actual skills or tasks that need to be done for the job. Then similarly, for 1 billion people on LinkedIn, we really know who they are, what they do, the skills that they're really good at, and leveraging AI to make that match to help people become more successful, more productive, and create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce.
Are you also, is AI, you guys obviously have a bit of a bot problem or have had a bit of a bot problem. Are you using AI to try to solve that, or are you going the old-fashioned way of kind of just trying to scrub it by humans?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a problem. I mean, LinkedIn is a real identity platform. Obviously, to the extent that we need to protect that platform, we use AI to do that. But we're really proud of the fact that I think we've kept LinkedIn is kind of a really kind of sacred, trusted place on the internet, again, with this focus of creating an economic opportunity for everyone in the global workforce.
Final question for you, Ryan. You talk a lot, LinkedIn talks a lot about how obviously people are looking for jobs. I think you guys said 60% of people currently on the platform are at least looking. You've been at LinkedIn for a long time. Do you plan to stick around for a while? Are you looking, or at some point, you've been there a long time by tech standards. You've been there a very long time. For somebody who's now a CEO. Are you among the 60%?
I feel like I am in my dream job. Every day I wake up and every minute on LinkedIn, almost 50 people in the world will start a new job because of the product that we built. We sit at the intersection, in my opinion, of not only doing well in business, but doing good for the world. When we build good products, people get jobs, they learn skills, they start companies, and I'm loving my job and what I'm doing. So,
Ryan, thank you very much. There's our program. Thank you very much for coming. We'll have more. Grab refreshments.